May 9, 1941. North Atlantic Ocean. A freezing wind cuts across the steel deck of a German submarine. The U-110 rocks violently in the dark Atlantic swells. Waves slam against the hull as alarms echo through the narrow steel corridors below. Red emergency lights flicker inside the submarine, casting long shadows across exhausted faces. Captain Lieutenant Fritz Julius Lemp grips the periscope handles. Above him, the ocean is chaos. Depth charges explode in the distance. The British destroyers HMS Bulldog and HMS Broadway circle like wolves of their own, hunting in the cold gray water. Lemp knows something is wrong. Hours earlier, his submarine had attacked a convoy crossing the Atlantic. Merchant ships burning on the horizon, lifeboats scattered across the waves, another successful strike for Germany's U-boat wolfpacks. For nearly 2 years, the Atlantic had belonged to them. German commanders believed it was their hunting ground. And for a long time, they were right. But now, the hunters were being hunted. Inside the control room, sailors whisper nervously. The submarine creaks under pressure as it dives deeper, trying to escape the British warships above. Another explosion shakes the hull. Dust falls from overhead pipes. The sonar operator freezes. Schraubendurch, multiple propellers. More ships arriving. The British somehow know exactly where they are. But how? The answer to that question lies hundreds of miles away, in a quiet English countryside mansion. A place that looks nothing like a battlefield. No bombs, no artillery, just rows of young men and women hunched over papers, pencils scratching quietly across code sheets. Bletchley Park. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary country estate. But inside, it's wooden huts. One of the most secret wars of World War II is unfolding. A war of mathematics. A war of logic. A war against a machine the Germans believe is unbreakable. The Enigma. German U-boats communicate through encrypted radio messages generated by this complex cipher device. Each message is scrambled through rotating wheels that produce trillions of possible combinations. To German naval commanders, the system seems flawless. Admiral Karl Dönitz, leader of the German submarine fleet, trusts Enigma completely. Every wolfpack attack, every convoy interception, every patrol order depends on it. Without those messages, the entire U-boat campaign collapses. But on this cold May morning in 1941, something extraordinary happens. Back on the Atlantic, the damaged U-110 is forced to surface. British sailors prepare to finish it off. But instead of sinking the submarine immediately, Commander Joe Baker Creswell of HMS Bulldog makes a decision that will change the war. He orders a boarding party. Under covering fire, British sailors jump onto the abandoned submarine. They scramble through the hatch into the dim red glow of the control room. What they find inside will become one of the most important intelligence victories of World War II. An intact Enigma machine, codebooks, cipher tables, all still sitting on the navigation desk. For the first time, Allied intelligence holds the key to the German Navy's secret communications. Back in England, the material is rushed to Bletchley Park. There, mathematicians and cryptanalysts, among them the brilliant and eccentric Alan Turing, begin the painstaking process of unlocking the system. It will not be easy. Even with captured materials, Enigma resets its combinations every single day. Break the code today, and tomorrow it changes again. But slowly, piece by piece, the impossible begins to happen. Patterns emerge. Machines are built to test millions of combinations. And then, one morning, the signals start making sense. Coordinates, convoy routes, attack orders. Suddenly, the Atlantic battlefield becomes visible. Invisible wolfpacks stalking merchant ships. Submarines waiting along convoy paths like ambush predators. For the first time, Allied commanders can see the enemy beneath the waves. But they must use this knowledge carefully. If the Germans ever suspect their codes are broken, they will change everything. So the Allies begin a dangerous game. They must act on the intelligence without revealing how they know. Convoys start turning away from danger at the last minute. Destroyers suddenly appear in places U-boats thought were safe. German commanders notice the change, but they assume something else. Better radar, improved patrol aircraft, bad luck, anything but the truth. And deep beneath the Atlantic waves, the hunters keep sending their encrypted messages, never realizing someone else is reading them. Yet this fragile advantage could disappear at any moment, because in Berlin, Admiral Dönitz is about to demand something that will make the codebreakers work far more difficult. A new version of Enigma. More rotors, more combinations, more secrecy. And when it arrives, the codebreakers at Bletchley Park will suddenly go blind again. For months, the Atlantic will once again belong to the wolves. September 21st, 1942, midnight. Somewhere in the black emptiness of the North Atlantic, the ocean looks calm, too calm. A convoy of slow merchant ships moves quietly through the darkness. Tankers, cargo ships, ammunition transports, dozens of vessels crawling across the ocean like a steel caravan. Their engines rumble steadily as they push west toward Britain. On deck, sailors scan the horizon. The air smells of salt and diesel. But beneath the surface, something is already watching them. 30 meters below the waves, the German submarine U-606 glides silently through the cold water. Inside the narrow control room, Captain Lieutenant Hans-Heinrich Wormbach studies the hydrophone reports. The headphones crackle softly as the sonar operator whispers. Multiple screws, large convoy. Wormbach smiles faintly. Exactly what the German Navy had been hoping for. Since the beginning of the war, Admiral Karl Dönitz had believed submarines could choke Britain into submission. The island nation depended on supplies from across the Atlantic: food, oil, ammunition, steel. Destroy the ships, and Britain would starve. But one submarine alone could only sink so much. So Dönitz invented a new tactic: the wolfpack. A single U-boat would locate a convoy and quietly radio the location back to headquarters in France. From there, German Naval Command would direct multiple submarines toward the target. Soon, dozens of U-boats would converge from every direction, like wolves circling prey in the dark. By nightfall, the attack would begin, and it was terrifyingly effective. Throughout 1942, German submarines sank Allied shipping faster than it could be replaced. Entire convoys vanished into the Atlantic. Burning tankers turned the night sky orange, while sailors fought desperately to survive in freezing water. German U-boat crews began calling it the happy time. For them, the ocean had become a shooting gallery. Inside U-606, Wormbach prepares to join the hunt. The radio operator taps out a short encrypted transmission using the Enigma machine. Coordinates, convoy size, speed, and heading. Within minutes, the message reaches German command. And somewhere far away, other submarines begin turning toward the same target. U-552, U-91, U-221. One by one, they slip into position. None of the merchant sailors above have any idea what is happening. They see nothing. They hear nothing. Just dark water stretching endlessly in every direction. Hours later, the first torpedo launches. A white streak cuts through the water. Then, impact. A British tanker erupts in flame, the explosion lighting up the entire convoy. Sailors scramble from their bunks as alarms scream across the fleet. Another torpedo strikes. Then another. Within minutes, chaos spreads across the ocean. Ships scatter wildly, trying to escape invisible attackers. Escorts fire star shells into the sky, while destroyers charge through the darkness, dropping depth charges. But the submarines keep coming, one after another. U-boats surface between the ships, firing torpedoes from the surface, where they are faster and harder to detect. The Atlantic night becomes a battlefield. And all of it, every attack, every movement, every order, is coordinated through radio signals encrypted by Enigma. Signals the Germans believe are completely secure. But hundreds of miles away in England, someone is listening. Inside Bletchley Park's Hut 8, the atmosphere feels nothing like the chaos of the Atlantic. Here, the war sounds different. Typewriters clatter, papers shuffle, electric machines hum softly. At a long wooden table, a young codebreaker studies a page of intercepted German radio traffic. Rows of seemingly meaningless letters. GQZJY, PTLNO, ZMOR. To anyone else, it looks like nonsense. But to the codebreakers, it is a puzzle waiting to be solved. And tonight, the puzzle is becoming a nightmare. Months earlier, the German Navy introduced a new encryption system, the four-rotor Enigma, nicknamed Shark by Allied intelligence. It has added millions of new combinations to the code. The machines at Bletchley Park, called bombs, designed by Alan Turing and engineer Harold Keen, are suddenly struggling to keep up. Each day the messages pile higher. Intercepted transmissions from U-boats, but no way to read them. Convoys are sailing blind again. In London, Allied commanders grow nervous. They remember the dark months of 1942, when German submarines sank ships faster than Britain could replace them. If the code cannot be broken again, the Atlantic could become a graveyard. Back in Hut 8, Alan Turing walks slowly between the rows of machines. Tall, quiet, slightly awkward. But inside his mind, calculations are racing faster than any mechanical computer. He knows something about the German system, something important. The Germans trust their machine too much. They believe Enigma is perfect, which means they are careless. They repeat phrases. They follow habits. They send weather reports using predictable formats. Tiny patterns hidden inside massive oceans of code. Turing stops beside one of the bombs. The machine spins rapidly, its drums clicking through thousands of possibilities. Millions, then millions more. Suddenly, the machine stops. A technician leans forward. A possible solution. Not proof yet, but a crack. Hours later, the team confirms it. The Shark code has been broken. For the first time in months, Allied intelligence can read German submarine communications again. And what they see is alarming. Wolfpacks everywhere. Submarines forming giant attack lines across the Atlantic. Waiting. Convoys sailing straight toward them. But now something changes. Instead of blindly sailing into traps, Allied convoys begin quietly changing course. Destroyers appear in the exact areas where U-boats are hiding. Long-range patrol aircraft suddenly arrive overhead. German submarine commanders begin noticing something strange. Convoys that should be easy targets are slipping away. Ambushes fail. Wolfpacks gather at empty ocean coordinates. Something is wrong. But the German Navy cannot figure out what. Because the messages guiding their entire campaign are no longer secret. And soon, Admiral Karl Dönitz himself will begin asking a dangerous question. Is someone reading our signals? January 15, 1943. Bletchley Park, Buckinghamshire, England. Just before dawn, a thin layer of frost covers the grass outside the quiet country estate. The old Victorian mansion stands silent in the pale morning light, its windows glowing faintly from lamps burning inside. From the outside, it still looks like a peaceful government office. But inside the wooden huts scattered across the property, the war never stops. In Hut 8, the air smells of warm metal, paper, and cigarette smoke. Rows of machines clatter and spin as operators monitor the massive mechanical computers known as bombs. Each one is searching through millions of possible settings for the German Enigma cipher. Time matters here. Every single day at midnight, German operators changed the Enigma settings across the entire Navy. Rotor positions, plugboard connections, cipher keys. If Bletchley Park doesn't break that day's code fast enough, the information becomes useless. Convoys could already be under attack before the warning reaches them. At one of the long wooden desks, Alan Turing studies a new batch of intercepted radio messages. He barely looks up as a colleague drops another sheet beside him. Another Enigma transmission from the Atlantic. Somewhere out there, a German submarine commander has just reported a convoy sighting. To the Germans, the message is completely secure. To the codebreakers here, it is a race. The intercepted signal was captured by one of Britain's Y stations, radio listening posts scattered along the coastline. Operators there spend day and night scanning German frequencies, recording every encrypted transmission they can find. Weather reports, patrol updates, attack orders, thousands of messages. Most are impossible to read at first. But the codebreakers know something important about the German Navy. They love routine. U-boat commanders report weather in the same format. Position updates follow predictable wording. Even distress signals follow patterns. Those patterns are called cribs. Small pieces of likely text hidden inside the scrambled code. If you can guess part of the original message, the bombs can test millions of rotor combinations until the rest of the message begins to fall into place. It's like solving a gigantic mechanical crossword puzzle. But this puzzle decides whether ships live or die. Across the room, a bomb suddenly slows. The spinning drums click, hesitate, then stop. A technician raises his hand. Possible stop. Everyone in the room looks up. The machine may have found the Enigma settings for the day. Operators quickly test the result against the intercepted messages. Slowly, the meaningless letters begin transforming into German words. Coordinates, orders, warnings. Inside one decrypted message, a chilling sentence appears. Wolfpack RobGraph assembling along convoy route SC-118. The message includes precise latitude and longitude. A trap. More than a dozen German submarines waiting across the convoy's path. At sea, the merchant ships carrying food and fuel for Britain are still steaming forward, unaware of the danger. But in London, the decrypted intelligence is immediately passed to Admiral Sir Max Horton, commander of Britain's Western Approaches Command. Horton understands exactly what this information means. He studies the chart. If the convoy continues its current course, it will sail directly into the wolfpack. He makes a decision. The convoy must turn immediately. Radio operators transmit a new instruction to the escort ships. Hundreds of miles away, the convoy changes direction in the darkness. Quietly, without explanation. Meanwhile, the German submarines wait. Hour after hour, their hydrophones listen for propellers. Nothing. No convoy. No targets. Confused commanders send encrypted radio messages back to headquarters. Convoy not present at expected coordinates. More messages follow. Still encrypted. Still using Enigma. And still being read inside Hut 8. At Bletchley Park, the codebreakers watch the confusion unfold in real time. For the first time in the war, the Allies are not reacting to the enemy. They are moving ahead of him. Invisible. But this advantage must remain a secret at all costs. If the Germans ever discover their codes are compromised, they will replace the system immediately. And the Allies will go blind again. So sometimes, even when they know a convoy is sailing into danger, they cannot act. Sometimes ships must still be sacrificed. A painful decision. But protecting the secret of ultra-intelligence, the name given to Enigma decryptions, is considered more important than saving any single convoy. It is one of the darkest burdens carried by the people working here. They are winning a hidden war. But no one outside these huts can ever know. Not the sailors risking their lives in the Atlantic. Not the soldiers fighting in North Africa. Not even many British commanders. The truth is locked inside Bletchley Park. And while the codebreakers continue their silent battle with Enigma, the German Navy is beginning to sense something deeply unsettling. Admiral Karl Dönitz studies reports arriving from the Atlantic. Wolfpacks missing convoys. Submarines intercepted unexpectedly. Escort ships appearing exactly where they shouldn't. He suspects radar. Perhaps better Allied aircraft patrols. Maybe improved convoy tactics. But the possibility that someone is reading his encrypted communications still seems impossible. After all, the Enigma machine has trillions of possible settings. German engineers insist it cannot be broken. Yet the evidence continues to grow. Something strange is happening in the Atlantic. Something the German Navy cannot explain. And soon, one disastrous convoy battle will push the U-boat war to a turning point that even Admiral Dönitz cannot ignore. Because the hunters are about to discover the ocean is no longer theirs. March 16, 1943, North Atlantic Ocean. Night falls over convoy HX 229. The sea is black and endless, broken only by the dim silhouettes of merchant ships pushing west toward Britain. 40 cargo vessels move slowly through the freezing darkness, their decks stacked with tanks, ammunition, and food desperately needed for the war in Europe. Around them, escort destroyers patrol nervously. They know the danger. But tonight, the danger is far greater than anyone realizes. Nearly 40 German U-boats are already moving into position. Somewhere deep beneath the Atlantic, commanders of the German submarine fleet are gathering into what will become one of the largest wolfpack attacks of the war. Admiral Karl Dönitz has ordered a massive interception. Through encrypted Enigma signals, he directs submarine after submarine into the path of the Allied convoy routes. U-91, U-603, U-758, U-229. One by one, they spread across the ocean like a giant net. Below the waves, the hydrophone operators listen carefully. Then one of them hears it. Distant propellers. Convoy noise. Inside U-91, Captain Lieutenant Heinz Walkerling immediately prepares a radio report. The Enigma machine clacks softly as the message is encoded. Large convoy sighted, requesting wolfpack convergence. Within minutes, the signal is racing across the Atlantic toward German headquarters in occupied France. And almost instantly, it is intercepted. At Bletchley Park, the message arrives with dozens of others captured by British radio stations. Operators in Hut 8 rush the encrypted text toward the bombs. Machines spin. Rotors click. Mathematical possibilities flash through metal drums at astonishing speed. The codebreakers work through the night, because somewhere out there, ships are about to die. But this time, the Allies already know what is coming. Hours earlier, decrypted messages revealed the massive concentration of German submarines forming along convoy routes. Commanders at Western Approaches Command immediately began rerouting ships. Destroyers and corvettes were reassigned to reinforce vulnerable convoys. Aircraft patrols were moved into new positions. But the Atlantic is huge. Even with intelligence, avoiding every submarine is impossible. Soon after midnight, the wolfpack attack begins. A torpedo slams into a British freighter. Flames erupt across the water as the convoy scatters in panic. Another ship explodes moments later. Lifeboats splash into the freezing ocean as sailors struggle to escape burning decks. Across the convoy, searchlights sweep the darkness, while escort ships race to locate the attackers. Depth charges thunder into the sea. But something is different tonight. The escorts seem to know exactly where to look. Destroyers charge directly toward submarine positions, revealed through decrypted Enigma signals. One by one, U-boats are forced to dive deep, abandoning their attack runs. In the darkness, sonar operators begin tracking the submerged submarines. The hunter has become the hunted. A destroyer roars overhead. Then, boom, depth charges detonate around you, 603, shaking the submarine violently. Inside the control room, pipes burst and lights flicker as sailors cling to the steel walls. The pressure hull groans. Water begins leaking through damaged seals. Captain Karl-Heinz Horstmann orders an emergency dive. But the destroyer above follows every movement. More explosions. Closer this time. In minutes, the submarine is crippled. Across the Atlantic battlefield, similar scenes unfold. German submarines that once dominated the night are now struggling just to survive. Escort ships move with frightening precision. Aircraft suddenly appear at dawn exactly where submarines are attempting to surface. Convoys slip through gaps in the wolfpacks that should not exist. Inside German naval headquarters, reports from submarine commanders begin arriving in waves. Attacks failing. Submarines damaged. Convoys vanishing. Admiral Dönitz studies the situation carefully. For years, his wolfpack tactics had terrified the Atlantic. But now something fundamental has changed. Allied escorts are faster. Their radar is better. Their aircraft patrols extend farther than ever before. But there is something else he cannot explain. Convoys that should be sailing directly into ambushes are somehow avoiding them. Perfectly. Again and again. In Berlin, German intelligence officers suggest possible explanations. New radar technology. Improved Allied reconnaissance. Lucky guesses. But Dönitz cannot shake a deeper suspicion. Could someone be reading his communications? He pushes the thought away. The Enigma system is mathematically secure. German cryptographers insist that breaking it would require impossible computing power. Still, the pattern of Allied responses is becoming impossible to ignore. Then comes May 1943, the month that will change the Battle of the Atlantic forever. In just a few weeks, Allied aircraft and escort ships sink dozens of German submarines. Wolfpacks collapse under relentless attacks. For the first time since the war began, U-boat losses reach catastrophic levels. Experienced crews vanish beneath the waves. Entire patrol groups disappear. Inside German naval headquarters, the reports become unbearable. Submarine commanders are begging for help. And finally, Admiral Karl Dönitz makes a decision that shocks the entire German Navy. He orders the U-boats to withdraw from the Atlantic. The hunters are retreating. For the first time in the war, the wolfpacks are defeated. But the German Navy still does not know the full truth. They believe radar, aircraft, and new Allied weapons have turned the tide. They do not know about the quiet English mansion where mathematicians and codebreakers have been fighting their own invisible battle. A battle fought with pencils, logic, and machines. A battle that allowed the Allies to see into the heart of the German submarine war. Yet even after this devastating defeat, the story of Enigma is far from over. Because the Germans will soon introduce new codes, new machines, and new submarines designed to reclaim the Atlantic. And the codebreakers at Bletchley Park will once again face a terrifying possibility. What happens if the codes go dark again? May 24, 1943, Berlin, Germany. Inside the headquarters of the Kriegsmarine High Command, Admiral Karl Dönitz stands over a large wall map of the Atlantic Ocean. Colored pins mark the positions of German submarines, or at least where they were last reported. Red pins show lost boats. There are far too many of them. In just a few weeks of May 1943, the German submarine fleet has suffered devastating losses. Over 40 U-boats destroyed in a single month, crews gone, experienced captains gone, machines that took months to build now resting on the bottom of the Atlantic. Dönitz had once believed submarines would win the war for Germany. Now he faces a terrible possibility. The campaign may already be lost. Reports from returning commanders are disturbing. Escort ships arriving exactly where submarines are waiting. aircraft appearing suddenly over areas thought to be safe, convoys altering course just hours before wolfpacks attack. The ocean no longer behaves the way it should. Still, German cryptographers assure him of one thing: Enigma is secure. The machine has trillions of possible settings. Every day, the keys change. Every operator follows strict procedures. Breaking the system should be impossible. So Dönitz searches for other explanations. Perhaps Allied radar technology has improved dramatically. Perhaps aircraft patrols have expanded farther into the Atlantic. Perhaps German radio transmissions are simply being detected more easily. Whatever the cause, one fact is clear. The wolfpack tactic that once terrorized the ocean is now becoming a death trap. Reluctantly, Dönitz issues a historic order. Most U-boats are to withdraw from the Atlantic battle zones. For the first time since the war began, the hunters are retreating. Far away in England, the news reaches Bletchley Park. Inside the huts where the codebreakers work, there are no celebrations, no cheering, just quiet relief. For years, these mathematicians, linguists, engineers, and radio operators have fought an invisible war against the Enigma machine. Every day has been the same relentless race. Intercept messages, break the code, warn the convoys, then start all over again when the settings change at midnight. Many of the people working here are barely in their 20s. Young women operating bombs, linguists translating German naval terminology, mathematicians designing new techniques to attack the cipher. Among them is Alan Turing, whose ideas about machines and logic helped make the entire operation possible. His bomb machines have tested billions of Enigma combinations. Without them, the messages of the German Navy might have remained forever unreadable. But the victory is fragile. The Germans continue modifying their encryption systems. New Enigma routers are introduced. Security procedures change. Radio discipline improves. Every time the Germans change something, the codebreakers must start again from scratch. Sometimes the code goes dark for days, sometimes for weeks. During those periods, convoys sail blind again. The Atlantic reminds everyone how dangerous it still is. Yet, by late 1943, the balance of the war has clearly shifted. New Allied technologies join the fight. Long-range B-24 Liberator patrol aircraft begin covering the mid-Atlantic gap, the one region U-boats once considered safe. Escort carriers launch fighter aircraft directly from convoy groups. Radar improves, sonar improves, and most importantly, the intelligence from Enigma continues guiding Allied commanders. Instead of reacting to submarine attacks, they now anticipate them. Convoys change course before wolfpacks can assemble. Destroyers intercept U-boats long before they reach their targets. The Atlantic becomes a battlefield the Germans can no longer control. By the time the war ends in 1945, more than 780 German U-boats have been destroyed. Nearly 30,000 German submariners, 3/4 of the entire force, have died beneath the waves. It is the highest casualty rate of any branch of the German military. And yet, for decades after the war, the full story remains hidden. The code-breaking operation at Bletchley Park is so secret that even many Allied commanders never learn about it. The sailors who fought the U-boats never know how often their convoys were saved by intelligence quietly flowing from Hut 8. Even some German commanders go to their graves believing radar and aircraft alone defeated the wolfpacks. The truth is stranger. A quiet English mansion, a group of mathematicians, a machine built to break another machine. Together, they changed the outcome of the Battle of the Atlantic. And in doing so, they shortened the war. Because if the U-boats had continued sinking Allied shipping at the rate they achieved in 1942, Britain might have starved. The invasion of Europe might never have happened. History itself might look very different. Instead, the hunters lost their ocean, Not because their submarines were weak, not because their commanders were careless, but because somewhere far